Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the all-new, brand new Mitsubishi Colt, a car you have never ever seen before. Obviously I'm joking. This is obviously a Renault Clio being rebadged as a Mitsubishi Colt. It's however still a pretty interesting car, I'd say, because of the whole story around this car that I will tell you in this video. I will explain you why Mitsubishi is selling a Renault Clio as a Mitsubishi Colt here in Europe. And I will tell you what is different on this car compared to Renault Clio. I'm also going to show you the interior of the car and we're going to take it out for a drive. Well, let's start this video with a little Japanese lesson. The word Mitsubishi actually consists of two words, Mitsu and Hishi. They later added the letter B to form the word Mitsu. However, Mitsu means three in Japanese and Hishi means a diamond pattern. That's why the logo of Mitsubishi consists of three diamond patterns, which I find a little bit funny considering the fact that you know this particular car from another brand that also uses a diamond pattern as their logo. And by that I mean, of course, Renault. So yes, this is a rebadged Renault Clio. Now why is Mitsubishi doing this? Why are they selling a Renault Clio as a Mitsubishi Colt? Well, a couple of years ago Mitsubishi was planning to leave Europe for good. However, they scratched that plan and now they are planning to come up with a couple of new models. Some electric models and also a plug-in hybrid Outlander will come in the next couple of years. However, at the moment they don't have any models, so they asked Renault kindly if they could borrow a couple of cars, like the Captur, which is now the Mitsubishi ASX, and now also the Clio, which is now the Colt. And in this way they can still keep selling cars here in Europe without doing major investments on new models. And let's not forget, Mitsubishi has around 1 million cars driving around in Europe, and they also got a lot of loyal fans, and Mitsubishi really want to sell cars to the fans and to people that are already driving in Mitsubishi in Europe. So that's still a pretty considerable group of people that they can sell cars like this. Now let's quickly mention what is different on the Colt compared to the Renault Clio, and let's start here at the front. Now first of all, the car has the dynamic shield integrated on the grille. That's what Mitsubishi likes to call the grille design. So you get these chrome elements here on the grille, and also the daylight running lights are part of the dynamic shield. They're a little bit different compared to a Clio. And obviously you got the Mitsubishi logo here on the front, and that's basically it. The back-end design is pretty much identical to the back-end design of a Renault Clio. However, you do get Mitsubishi spelled out in full all over the trunk, and you do get a HEV emblem here on the right side, which means this is the hybrid version, and there's also a little Colt emblem here as well. The backup camera is now located here in this piece of plastic. There used to be a Renault logo here that had the camera integrated, but obviously this car doesn't have a Renault logo, so this is the solution they came up with. I don't think this is the best looking solution. Let's also have a look at the trunk capacity on this car. Now of course that is also identical to a Renault Clio, so this car has 389 liters of luggage capacity, and that's identical to all the versions of this car. So this is the hybrid version I'm driving right now, and this car has an actual battery in the back, but it is located under the false floor. So it doesn't really take up any space here in the back. Now of course the interior is also identical to that of a Renault Clio. Obviously you do get a Mitsubishi logo on the steering wheel, but basically everything else is identical. However, there are some new trim levels on this Mitsubishi version that you cannot get at Renault, which makes this car actually interesting for a lot of people that want to have certain items in the interior, for example, that they cannot get at Renault, or they have to pay extra at Renault to have them in the Clio. So, for instance, as standard, you get a digital gauge cluster in the Colt. You can either get a 7-inch digital gauge cluster or a 10-inch version. At the moment, the car I'm driving right now has the 10-inch digital gauge cluster. The infotainment screen here in the middle also is available with different sizes. I believe this is the biggest version that you can get. It is running the identical infotainment system that Renault is running in the Clio. There aren't any differences. I rather like the infotainment system, but because it is actually pretty fast, it is really easy to use. It is very snappy to operate, and of course it runs Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You do get a lot of physical buttons just below the screen, just like in the Clio. So there are a couple of physical buttons for the heated seats, which you get in this top version of the Colt. And also the drive modes are here as well. So you get Sport, Eco, and My Sense, which is the same drive mode that you get in the Clio as well. Obviously, the drive modes don't change that much. They don't really differ. So in Sport, you just make a lot of more revs compared to the Eco, but that's about it. And you get 3 round dials here in the lower part of the center console. These dials are very familiar from a lot of Renault models, also a lot of Dacia models as well. And they're very easy to operate. I really like them. I really like having physical buttons in cars. I don't like fiddling around on a screen to set the temperature. And so you don't have to do that in this Colt. You can just turn the dial and set the temperature manually. This top version also has some LED lighting going on. For example, here in the center console, you can set it to different colors. At the moment, I'm running the purple color. You also get 2 cup holders here in the center, and you also get a little cubby space here below the center armrest here in the middle. Now the backseat area is just like the Clio, pretty cramped. It is fine if you got kids, there's plenty of space for kids, but if you're an adult, you can still basically fit there. I'm 1.80 meters and I actually fit there, but I don't want to sit there longer than, let's say, 2 hours. You do get 3 headrests, so you can safely put 3 kids in the back if you want to. Then let's talk drivetrains, because the drivetrains do make this car a little bit special, because this car is available with a 1-liter 3-cylinder without a turbo, producing 65 horsepower. And in a lot of countries you cannot get a Renault Clio with only 65 horsepower, but now you can with this Mitsubishi Colt. Now that version isn't particularly fast, as you can imagine. However, it is pretty cheap. Now I don't really know the prices of all the countries. However, I do know that the 65 horsepower version is €1,000 cheaper compared to the basic version of the Renault Clio in the Netherlands, where I'm from. And I can imagine that in a lot of countries, the Mitsubishi Colt is just a little bit cheaper if you take the base spec version compared to a Renault Clio. Now, besides the 65 horsepower version, you can also get the 90 horsepower version. That is the exact same 1-liter 3-cylinder. However, now this time it is with a turbo. And you can also get this hybrid version, which is the top version, and that is really the version you really want to have. This version produces 145 horsepower, which obviously is a lot more than the other 2 versions. And this car is actually pretty zippy. It is pretty fast, mainly because this car also has 2 electric motors. One of the motor is a starter generator, and the other motor is just a regular electric motor that actually powers the wheels. And you also got a 1.6 4-cylinder, again without a turbo, and altogether the motors produce 145 horsepower. Now, besides the fact that this car is pretty fast, it is also more comfortable because this car can do a lot of electric driving, especially if you're not going as fast. Like at the moment I'm driving in a village. I'm only doing 50 kilometers an hour, and I'm doing it all on electric power. The digital gauge cluster is showing me right now I'm only using the electric motor. I'm not using the petrol engine, and that makes this car really quiet, but also you get the electric instant torque of the motor that is just really comfortable. And the car will always start electric, so when you start the car up or when you start moving at a stoplight, the car will always drive electric until the moment that you really start pressing the accelerator pedal, and only then the petrol engine will kick in. So in conclusion, should you get this car over a Renault Clio? Well, it kind of depends on A, where you live, and B, if the car is cheaper in the place where you live compared to a Renault Clio. And see if there's some stuff that you cannot get on a Renault Clio, or maybe not at a certain price point, but you can get at Mitsubishi. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, hit that like button, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button, and then I'll see you in the next one.